Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. All members are present. We have the approval of the agenda. We have an addition of 7J, appointment of the ice skating attendant. And we also have under new business, letter A, discussion on joint meeting with the Public Works Department, with the PUC. Is there any other changes to the agenda? No? Council?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as with those two additions?
Motion to approve.
A motion by Heidi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the October 19th, 2016 regular meeting. Is there any changes, corrections, any clarification needed? Seeing none or hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the October 19th, 2016 minute?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Diane. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Heidi. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5 in favor, none against. This now brings us to our public open forum. I see there is a couple people on the docket that would like to speak to us during the public open forum. This is where the people in the audience have a chance to talk or mention anything they want to talk to the council about other than what's on the agenda. Mike Weiser and Pam Borgman, I see this is where we've got you listed to talk to the council, so if you, yes.
Mike is going to hand out some photos that we have put together. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. Roger Reinhardt and I had a dream about doing something with the band shell, and I think that it, as a historic building built in 1931, that we need to preserve what we have in town and also to add to what we have in order to as a CVB director, to bring people into town to stay. So Roger and I have worked on this for a while, and we had talked about it, and then we started to decide what we needed. And what we needed was somebody that would manage the project, because I've got too many things to do. And so Mike Weiser volunteered to manage the project, and he has done a great job so far. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mike Weiser to talk about the project.
We're going to inundate you with information and you won't be able to keep up. She gave me a lofty title of project manager because the pay is so darn good, you know. As you guys know, there's not too many band shells left in Minnesota anymore, and we see this as a great opportunity to make ours look really nice. We checked the band shell out, and it's in perfect A1 excellent condition as far as the construction of it. It's still in good shape. Everything wrong with it is cosmetic. And so what we want to do is get approval to continue forward with this project and start fundraising so we can get this thing paid for. And if you look at this sheet that I gave you, we're not going to go through them all, but virtually what it amounts to is we got to clean the building up, we got to repaint it, we got to repair the stucco, and we're going to put a whole new computerized lighting system in this building. So this thing is going to be state-of-the-art as far as if we get any good big bands in there. The goal is to get some good name bands in there, maybe do some plays there, that kind of thing. It's just going to be a fantastic place for the city. And so we're looking at trying to raise $55,000. I don't know if you have any questions on any of these items, just speak up. We're going to put a handicap ramp in and, just a bunch of stuff. I don't want to drag this out too long, but unless you have questions. So $55,500 gets us going. We would like to start next spring as soon as the weather gets nice enough and be done in the fall. So we're good for the next season as far as getting some good concerts out there and some big names and everything. Pam's already got a couple things lined up that are pretty lofty, so if we get this done, we can get them in. So anyway, anybody have any questions on this project at all?
Any questions? I know I've been talking to Roger Reinhardt quite a bit about this, and I think it's a great idea. I think as far as it could end up being a city agenda item, I think, to get the formal approval on it, but I don't see anything standing in the way.
Okay.
As of right now.
So
But
what you're kind of saying then, you're kind of saying to me we can start raising funds with the idea that it's going to be okay to do this.
personally, yes.
Okay.
I'm not going to speak.
I'm trying to
for the
pull
other
words.
board.
I'm trying to pull words out of your mouth. This plan that Roger's going to do, there's going to be some more added. He's going to add some musical instruments and stuff like that to it. He's going to dress it up a bit. And there may be some things to the building we may decide we want to do at the last minute too, and just try to make it nicer. And we're open to suggestions, what we should do out there. So, don't hesitate to holler at us, okay?
Okay.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the council?
Beautiful.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the council? Calling a third time, is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Hearing no one, our public open forum is now closed. We will now move on to our reports and presentations. Property and liability insurance renewal. Mark?
So, Mark Maloney, Minnesota National Agency. I take care of the insurance for the city, and the renewal comes up January 1. And annually, the members of the League of Minnesota Cities of Insurance Trust, members that obtain coverage through them, have to decide whether to waive statutory liability limits and to extend to the extent of coverage purchased. This decision has the following effects. If the member does not waive the statutory limits, an individual claimant would be able to recover no more than $500,000 on any claim which is this statutory tort limits apply. So the total all claimants would be able to recover in a single occurrence would be $1.5 million. These statutory limits apply regardless of whether the city purchases the optional excess liability coverage. If the member waives the statutory limits and does not purchase excess liability coverage, a single claimant could potentially recover up to $2 million for a single occurrence. And under the option, the tort cap liabilities are waived to the extent of the member's liability coverage limits. And the League of Minnesota Cities and Trust per occurrence limit is $2 million. The total all claimants could be able to recover from a single occurrence to which statutory tort limits apply would be limited to $2 million, regardless of the number of claimants. The other decision is to, if the member waives the statutory limits and the purchase of excess liability, which you have done in the past, coverage in a single claimant could potentially recover an amount up to the limit of the coverage purchased. And in the past, you've purchased an additional $1 million of excess liability. The total all claimants would be able to recover for a single occurrence to which the statutory limits apply would also be limited to the amount of coverage purchased. So that limit total would be $3 million. The excess liability last year was about $8,600 for the $1 million of excess, and the cost to waive the tort liability is about 3% of the municipal liability and the auto liability premium. And in your case, roughly about $1,100 last year. So you have to decide.
Okay,
Right.
and that is an action item due later on tonight. Does anyone have any questions? I think most of the time, we've always waived the monetary limits, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the overall total again for if we waive it, or is that 8608,
The
cost?
that was for the excess.
Okay,
Excess liability, the $1 million excess is 8608.
okay. Is that an increase over?
No, that's what it was last year.
That's what it was, okay.
Yeah.
Questions? Comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
EDA report, Vicki?
The EDA met today in regular session. I have a couple items that they discussed. They heard from the chamber representative that they're looking at some changes to Sinclair Lewis days. We did get a bit of news that came in the mail yesterday, and we learned that the buyer for the interpretive center has withdrawn his purchase agreement. And so that property will be available for sale again. We did discuss the Getty Street extension that you'll be hearing the hearing on tonight. And we reviewed the apartment complex development progress. So we do have the site plan for the apartment complex up on the north end of town. And as you know, at the next council meeting, we'll be having we'll be receiving the feasibility report on the sewer extension and the water extension for that piece of property. And then also they discussed marketing the racetrack property and some strategies there for a possible sale. So kind of the ideas of they have no action items for you tonight, just more informational. If anybody has any questions.
Questions?
You said we don't have a buyer for the interpretive property anymore,
They withdrew their purchase agreement.
so, all right.
So it's available.
So it's for sale again, all
It's
right.
for sale again, so. Anyone else have any questions on that? Okay. We'll then move on. We have a public hearing tonight. We will recess the regular normal meeting and we will open up the public hearing. We have a public hearing before us this evening regarding the proposed Getty Street improvement. It is our intention that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. If you wish to speak, please sign in on the sign-up sheet at the back of the room. The procedure is as follows. Presentation by staff, followed by questions of staff, then public input. Raise your hand when recognized by the mayor, approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. State your comments and position. No one will be allowed to speak a second time until everyone has had a chance to be heard. First, we will hear questions for clarification. Second, public in favor of the proposal. Third, public speaking against the proposal. After everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity to be heard, the hearing will be closed. After closure of the public hearing, the council will deliberate and take action as appropriate. Members of the audience do not participate in the council's discussion unless a majority of the council concedes to hear additional information or questions. The hearing is now in session. Keith?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have a brief presentation, after which I'll turn it back to the Mayor for any questions that the Council may have, and then any questions that the audience may have after that. Okay, street reconstruction. It's a public improvement hearing on the reconstruction of realigning a narrow and deteriorating roadway. I think everyone knows where it is, on the south side of town. Located, it's always a bad spot with the audience, but located here just to the east, or excuse me, west of Main Street, south of the existing Getty, ties into the ramp, essentially, the exit ramp at I-94 here. Just an example of what the street looks like now. We have a mix of some commercial and assisted living residential. We also have the city property, which is for sale again, currently to the east of the street. It's a narrow roadway. It's a rural type where there's no curb and gutter. You can kind of see by the pictures that we have a lot of deterioration of the roadway, and is beginning to unravel and essentially fall apart on us. Another picture, this is the east-west portion of the roadway towards the south end. The pavement, you can see once again deterioration. It's just a 24-foot wide roadway, and it really will not support, especially the traffic that is being proposed with the development of the property that the city owns, the old Sinclair Lewis Interpretive Center property. The improvements proposed, this shows the sanitary sewer and water main. The sanitary sewer would essentially be a relocation of the existing utilities are way out here on the west side of the roadway. The sanitary sewer would be put down the middle of the roadway, down to this location here, so it picks up all the properties on to the west and to the south of the roadway, as well as another sanitary sewer service that would feed the development potential of that larger Lot 1 is shown there. The water actually isn't going to be replaced with this. The water will stay where it's at. It's outside the street, but it's far enough away from the curb that if there's anything wrong, we don't have to go back in and tear up the street in order to get to it. There would be a new water service location for the existing property with that. One of the highlights here really is for the street portion is to realign the roadway to match Getty Street to the north. This is a picture looking from the south to the north, and you can see across a belt line that there's an obvious gap in the roadway alignment. There's a very wide right-of-way. The right-of-way is actually quite a ways to the west here. The proposal is to move the street so that it lines up with Getty to the north, so we don't have that skewed intersection, which is inherently dangerous, making those maneuvers through there. So it would provide us a safer intersection. The street improvements, as you can see to the north, is the realignment of the street so that it does align with Getty Street to the north. The property, especially the newer development over here, the assisted living, has already contemplated this move when that property was developed. So there is the ability to tie into those parking areas or those access areas. There is, as well, as you go down, we get rid of, essentially it's kind of a 90-degree angle now. We'd actually put in a curved roadway here, a curve at the corner, and it would tie in. There would be a right-in, right-out only as it got into Trunk Highway 71. And this is something that MnDOT does not want to have. They really would rather it not actually connect to MnDOT, or excuse me, to Trunk Highway 71 at all, but as a minimum, they would allow a right-in and a right-out. So that is what is being proposed for that particular intersection to facilitate the movement through Getty Street and whatever might happen in here, as well as the existing traffic from the properties to the west side of Getty Street. All there really is just tying into the existing driveways, several of them on this side. There would be proposed, as we originally had for this development, there would be a couple access points. That may change now as if the council chooses to move forward with the project. There was one thing we talked about. We would recommend that there would be actually no parking on the street. That would allow us to do just a 36-foot roadway through here. This particular development, either on either side of the road, isn't really conducive to the need for parking in this area. We'd rather facilitate movement of vehicles. As we talked before, when I presented this to the council, one issue I know a couple of sometimes semis that park in this area, and that may cause some issues, some hardships in that particular area. But we had talked about the potential for some little bit of a parking area in this particular area of the east-west portion on the south side. So that's an area that it could be included, a little bump out so that the trucks could park and still have a full 12-foot lane, a through lane, if you will, going west to east on that side of Getty. So those are the improvements. There really aren't any storm sewer. There's very, very minor improvements up there in the intersection just to accommodate the street being moved. That's really all that the storm sewer is needed for this particular project. So fairly simple overall. It's just kind of moving the roadway and making a real corner through here so that it's a safer roadway system. And it would obviously be curb and gutter as well. Estimated project costs are listed here for the sanitary sewer, water, storm, services, and streets. These are the estimated project costs with a total of $337,608 for the total project costs. We have the split out of city costs, $7,000, $133,000. So the city costs are $140,000. The PUC cost of $41,000 is for the cost of the sanitary sewer, and then there's the assessable cost for the storm sewer and the services and the streets as well for $156,000 for the assessable costs. Now I'll show you the assessment summary, what those look like on a cost per front foot for the streets is $186.75. Sanitary sewer depends on the size of the service. It's $1,560 to $4,200. And a water service, and this is just for the larger city parcel, is $82.65. It's a little bit longer, it's larger. That's why it's a more expensive service for that. The storm sewer is on a per foot basis, on a per square foot basis, and that's 4 cents a square foot. Once again, it shows the PUC cost. These do include 50/50, which means a 50% credit for the streets and storm sewer costs, with the exception of the city parcel, because it really doesn't make any sense to give us a credit, and it really is our own money anyway. So I've left that in there, and you'll see that on the next rate. And the preliminary assessments for the parcels that would be adjacent to the roadway are shown below. They range anywhere from $39,000 for the Getty Street properties. This is the hotel, these two properties combined, and that's about $23,000 for the two properties combined through here. And the large parcel of the city, once again, remember there isn't the 50% credit that's been applied to this one. So that's $171,990 for the total cost of assessments against that property. So with that, I believe that's it. I will turn it back over to the mayor and field any questions that the council may have.
Council, any questions? Anything?
No.
Okay. Then we will move on to public input. Is there anyone here from the city that would like to speak to the council on this matter for clarification, for or against? I'll include all of it. Okay, would you come up to the front and state your name and address and your position, please?
I'm Mary Jo Marthaler, and I am the administrator at Getty Street Assisted Living. My question is, we own 2 parcels, but I only see one on my thing. Is that both of our parcels? I pay taxes on 2 parcels up there.
I'm not sure without looking at this I'm not sure if there's a parcel to the west by any chance or not. I'm not sure. We'd have to look at that further, but what we show is it's one parcel that is at least adjacent to Getty Street.
Okay.
So, but this is something we can look at.
Because we don't have much in the back at all.
Yeah, I
So
don't.
it wouldn't be to the back.
Yeah.
It would have to be.
I know that this length is that total length along Getty Street, so.
Because that could put us at more money.
Yeah. If there is by chance 2 parcels and it's split, the total we have should cover both of them, because I know that it's the entire length of the parcel adjacent to Getty Street, from the north end all the way down to where the Thorson's property starts.
Okay. I guess my other comment would just be it seems like an awful lot of money for retail traffic when there is no real retail traffic there. We're residential right now. You know, we don't have a lot of traffic in and out. most of my residents, none of them drive. So it's, you know, a few families coming in and out. And this would just increase their rent, of course, and they're on fixed incomes. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the council? State your name and
Okay, I'm
address.
Joanne Thorson, I'm from the Gopher Prairie Inn. I guess I'm not sure how much of the property in front of us is right-of-way, and is it going to take some of our property? I'm also very concerned about the amount of cost for us. It's a pretty big chunk for a small business. My other concern is, if you're aware of how our property is, our driveway is a definite go uphill. And as it is now, if we have somebody with a longer vehicle and pulling a longer trailer or whatever, they're almost scraping the bottom. How is something like this going to happen if you're going way over there and we don't have this incline to work with anymore?
Okay. Keith, do you want to address some of them?
I can address a couple of those questions. The cost obviously is one that the council can address at
Right.
a little bit later or now if they wish. But as it relates to the steepness of the driveway, we're only a real preliminary design at this point, but I'm aware of that. We actually have raised where the grade of the street where it would be at so that we're maintaining. The driveway won't be any steeper than it is now. We haven't made it flatter than what it is, but we're trying to keep it so that it's no steeper than what it is now. There is enough right-of-way on that west side of Getty Street. It's been there for quite some time now. There is actually for your property, there would be a temporary easement that would be necessary just for some grading, just to tie everything in. So that'd be something we'd be talking with you in more detail if the council elects to move forward with the project. But there is enough right-of-way that would only be a temporary construction easement, just to tie things in, you know, seed everything again, get it growing, and then that easement would go away. Okay.
Any other questions? Those in favor or against? Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the council? Third time, is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Council have any other questions? Okay. I think we have an action item later on this. One thing that I want to state is, since we're conducting this public hearing tonight, the council has 6 months from now to order if we're going to do the improvement or not. So it isn't anything that could happen tonight, but we have the public hearing part of it done now. And just to let the public know that that's how that works. After 6 months, if we haven't taken any action on it, if we're going to order the improvement, then we'd have to have another public hearing. So for right now, this is how it sits. Nothing has been ordered as far as definite going to be happening. So, any other questions from the council? If not, no. Our public hearing is now closed. We will now go back into session on a regular meeting. Action items: approve tort limit waiver and purchase excess liability insurance.
Okay, this is related to what Mark Maloney spoke about earlier, but we need to make a determination if we wish to waive or not waive the statutory tort limits on liability claims for the insurance policy, and also if we wish to purchase the excess liability insurance. In the past, we have done both. We have waived that tort limit that would extend the availability of a claim for a single claimant from $500,000 up to a higher amount. And the reason that the city had done that in the past was because, and I'll use the same example, if a city vehicle was in an accident with another vehicle with multiple people that were injured, that limits don't cover very much money anymore in today's day and age, and the city felt it was not for the city so much as for the residents of the city to go ahead and waive that tort liability and purchase that umbrella policy. The second reason for the umbrella, the excess liability, and I don't believe Mark touched on it tonight, but we've talked about it in the past, is we have multiple agencies that could be simultaneously in litigation. The EDA is separate from the city, and so there could be some litigation that might involve both entities under the same policy, and this excess liability would cover that. So that is kind of the two reasons that the city in the past has done that, and you certainly have the opportunity to either make a decision one way or another. As we said before, the cost to waive the limit is approximately $1,100, and the cost to purchase the extra umbrella is $8,600. And both of those items were included in your budget for 2017 based on the fact that you've continually purchased this and done that waiver in the past. So what we're looking for tonight is an action by the City Council to either approve or not approve to waive the monetary limits on municipal tort liability, and that's under Minnesota statute, and to purchase the excess liability insurance umbrella for an additional $1 million.
Questions? Comments?
Comments? We've done it in the past. I think we had good reasons for doing it. I don't think they've changed, so I think I expect we'll probably continue to waive and purchase the excess.
And I think you and I've sat on the council for the
We've
last 10 years.
had these deliberations for many years.
And this is the way we've always gone with it, but that doesn't mean it can't change. So, do I have a motion from the council to approve to waive the monetary limits on municipal tort liability established under Minnesota State Statute 466.04 and to purchase an excess liability insurance umbrella for an additional $1 million?
So moved.
We have a motion by Heidi. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Any other discussion, comments? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approve resolution 2016-80 ordering improvement of Getty Street.
Okay, this is in relation to the public hearing that Keith Yap just presented to the city ordering the improvement of Getty Street. If the project were approved tonight, they would go into final design and would be brought to the city council for approval for the plans and specs and then authorized for bids, and we typically would bid over the winter months. However, we do have 6 months from tonight's meeting that the mayor did say earlier to order the improvement, and that 6-month time clock just starts at if we do it after that, we have to go through another public hearing process. It's not that we can't do it in the future, but it would require another public hearing if we went beyond 6 months. Now, the EDA today heard that the purchaser of the property had withdrawn, and they had some discussion on whether they should wait on this project because maybe the new buyer may want different approaches or different services, or whether it was better to go ahead and get the project done, and maybe the fact that it is done and new would entice a buyer. So we're looking at it in both ways. So what's in front of the city council tonight is actually a resolution ordering the improvement of Getty Street, resolution 2016-80. However, in light of the new information, you certainly could wait on that a while. You do have 6 months before you have to go forward.
Questions? Comments?
Comments, yeah. I think we don't have a buyer anymore.
No.
And I hate to see us ordering improvements that were made to accommodate a buyer who's not there anymore. That's a lot of money to
It is.
to find out that the next guy says, oh, gee, I wish you'd have done that a little differently.
And that's one of the things that the EDA had discussed today, that, we might have a buyer in next week, we might have another buyer in 5 months, or it could be a year. The suggestion was that we look at doing something with that road and maybe have a design change or whatever, so then that way, in case a buyer does come in, it's ready to go. I have a mixed feeling on, we have no idea why they withdrew their purchase agreement, or, so I have mixed feelings on whether or not it was because it took so long for us to get that road lined up and ready to go with it, that might have been the part of it, because usually these development companies and huge companies, when they want to strike, they strike now. They don't want to go through 7, 8 months of bureaucracy with local government. And so that's one of the things I think we can sit back and look at and see what we've got out there. There have been other interested parties. But as far as ordering the improvement tonight, I think, personally, I think we could hold off and see if there's other ways of doing this.
My thought is too, we should hold off. I do like to, I'd like to say that these improvements probably are going to be inevitable if we're going to make that really appealing to a buyer.
Right.
That lot, as it is now, there was a lot of improvements that had to be made on it, and the chunk that is building ready was not that big.
Right.
Maybe through some of the improvements, we can make it more so. That's my thought.
Any other questions, comments? Vicki, you have anything you want to add to?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. What's the council's wishes? Do you want to approve the ordering? Do you want to table it? You want to?
I will make a motion that we table that resolution.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Dave, second by Diane, to table the ordering the improvements for Getty Street. Any other discussion?
I guess I would support that motion to table it, but I do think that we should continue with looking at some of these improvements.
Right.
So.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, Getty Street is still on our capital plan for 4 or 5 years from now anyway.
Correct,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure, so.
Yeah.
It's on our plan. It was just bumped to the head of the list because we had a buyer.
Because we had a
don't have a
buyer.
buyer, so.
Right, but I think understanding what Keith and I were at the EDA meeting is it's something that we don't want it sitting back on the back burner again for 4 years or whatever until our capital improvement comes up. So let's make it a little more appealing rather than sit on a piece of property that long waiting for someone again. So we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Is there any more discussion? We have a motion to table the ordering of the improvements of Getty Street. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approve appointment of comp plan consultant.
Okay, this is the comp plan, we had the interview committee, and we conducted interviews on October 19th to the top 3 candidates that were selected out of the pool. The committee discussed the preferred ranking of the candidates for selection, and then they reviewed the estimates of costs. And the cost estimates for 2 of the firms were $35,000 to $40,000 over our budget. And the third candidate who was close to the budget was our existing firm, Stantec. Then we kind of discussed on what was the cost for that differentiation, and we sat and we compared the different plans. There was concern of whether we would be paying the higher cost for a learning curve, or if they were bringing something else to the table that we were missing, and that would make them for a better comp plan in the long run. We took the 3 different firms and we compared the different sections of the plan on the cost estimates to determine what that difference may be. The numbers of meetings are kind of similar, task force meetings, public hearings, et cetera, but the participation portion was more for the other firms than our existing firm. And it's thought that came out in the interviews that they had a lot more technology type methods that they were using. Heidi, if I'm saying that correctly, you were involved in that they thought they maybe could bring more ideas to the table that may be new and different than what we might have otherwise heard. We're kind of conjecturing a little bit and talking back and forth about what we thought we could get for the best plan. The other one was there was also discussion that we may be paying for a learning curve to get up to speed. But then on the flip side, there's a lot of knowledge that our existing firm already has, and perhaps that was the reason why the cost for his proposal was lower. So we were kind of trying to balance that out. One of the main topics of discussion centered around the reconstruction of Highway 71 and how it was so important for us to have a common vision when it came time for that planning. And so, again, we had the discussion about what firm would bring that. Would somebody bring new ideas, or would our existing firm, who would probably be designing that, be the right choice? And so we kept going back and forth on those, and there was consideration for the two other firms that were more money, and this is SRF and KLJ, that it was kind of fresh and new and vibrant and brought a lot of energy to the proposal, and also in some of the ways they were going to conduct their public meetings. And so we're going back and forth quite a bit, trying to look at what they wanted to do. And so we have a couple options here that we talked about at the meeting. And one was, just utilize and stay within budget, utilize Stantec, and we would go through the process and bring those items to the table and have them involved in the transportation section that down the road they'll be involved in when it comes time to design. Then there was the other one that if we went with SRF, who was the next firm up the list as far as costs, that they were bringing some things to the table with their public participation process, and that really is where the extra costs were involved. And they had some things on that they would to go to some other functions to try to reach out to people that might not otherwise participate. And that's what they really wanted, was a big participation from the community, and that's really where they were investing some of those dollars. And then the third option we put on the table, because the transportation was such a key point in the interviews and in the reasoning to go to the comp plan, was to kind of set the comp plan aside and just focus on the transportation section, maybe using the complete streets, if you've ever heard of that type of scenario, which is similar to a comp plan, but focusing just on transportation and on streets. That's what MnDOT uses when they go into a design. So we kind of had the three options there. So the committee met and they looked at all of that, and they felt like the comp plan was more than just the transportation section, and it was very important to get it all done, and it was very important to get fresh viewpoints. And they've met, and they recommended tonight that we go with SRF. They had a budget or a cost of $79,000, and with the understanding that we would have to do this over 2017 and 2018, so when it came time for 2018's budget, you would have to be prepared to budget those extra approximately $30,000 to make that happen. So Warren and Heidi, you certainly step in if I've missed anything. We went back and forth and we weighed the pros and cons, and I think it came out in the end, and I think that the two of you felt quite strongly that this would be the right step to get the type of plan that we wanted.
Want to comment, or?
Yeah, I guess and you touched on it, the biggest thing for me that I kept in the back of my mind is that who's going to be using this when we're not here to be using this? So the technology piece of it, to me, with what was offered as an end product, was more user-friendly, I think, for future users. Yes, you said the learning curve, right now getting us up to speed. The public involvement piece too, definitely, because I think, Warren, maybe it was you that said it during our last meeting, that we want to get people reinvigorated to be excited about the city. So having that tool that SRF offered, I think, was the most important piece of the package to me.
Great. And for those people that don't know, the comprehensive plan is a plan that basically sets the guideline for the city to follow for the next 20 to 25 years. So basically what they do is they'll go out and they'll get all the public input on where they want to see the city headed, and we work with all the city staff and everything to put a plan together so future councils, future planning commissions and stuff can say, this is what the public wanted on such and such a date, and this is the direction they wanted to see the city go. Not that they didn't necessarily going to agree with it, but then when it comes down to a decision, it can be taken down, looked at, and it gives direction to the council, planning commission, and other city staff. The one thing is I was born and raised here. There's a lot of stuff that I think could have happened over the years in Sauk Center, and we got a chance by doing this comprehensive plan, getting public input with students like you. Most kids, one minute they graduate, they're gone. And how many do you see come back? Maybe that's a piece of the puzzle where if we can change it with public input, you might want to stay or come back after college. I think personally, I think we've walked the line of being so focused and kind of like I put an analogy today at the meeting. You're floating down a river, and Sauk Center's, we're that raft going down the river, and the only time we really do anything is when that one log gets in our way and we throw it out of the way and then we keep moving. Where I'd rather have somebody go along and say, hey, there's rapids ahead, let's have fun. You know, I'm tired of the status quo. And I think with the new comp plan, if we get enough public input and stuff from everybody, this could turn out to be a really great thing for Sauk Center. So can we stay with our existing engineer? Yeah. And save money? Or do we want to bring in somebody that has absolutely no idea what Sauk Center is all about and tell us what they see could happen? And that's kind of what I'm leaning for. And if there's anybody else on the council that's got comments, pro or con, I'm open to them.
I think I'd add to that, Warren, too, that it's not that the firms have absolutely no idea. I mean, already through the interview process, we learned that they're
Right.
invested in, doing their research. So,
True.
but it's the fresh viewpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other comments?
Some questions.
Yep.
You keep talking about technology, some sort of technology that apparently other people don't have. What is?
By technology, I think it's just the use of, like we publicize our meetings in the newspaper and advertise on, on the front entryway, but this is using things like our own existing website, social media, having our, boosting our page to include and involve that sort of thing. Some of the options, and I don't have my RFP sitting in front of me, but tools for getting people involved instead of come to this meeting at 7:30 at the City Hall on this night to discuss it. People aren't always willing to vocalize their opinion when they're in the presence of maybe louder voices. So the inclusion of this package allowed for people to have an opinion, express it, but maybe don't have to be sitting there unwilling to, face opposition.
To add to that, one of the tools that they actually showed us in the interview process was, say, use this group of people right here. It's not everybody's comfortable getting up and speaking their mind on something. What they do is they do their presentation, and then all of a sudden they give you a text message or where you can go. You sit right where you're at, punch it up on your phone, and give us your public opinion that way without anybody knowing what you said. But then they get the public input they need to direct it. That's a tool that I think would work very well, because like if you get one person that's totally for or against something and they're vocal, there isn't a whole lot of people that are going to jump up and tell the person they're wrong or right. Where in this way, that's a tool that we were kind of interested in seeing in a public forum type setting. We're giving the people that aren't comfortable in speaking in front of people to be able to still say which direction they want to see the city go.
And also, I think the end format technology, more of an internet, I wouldn't say it's not virtual reality, it's more of a hands-on tool, not just a PDF you have to flip through pages to read about. It's more of an interactive tool that, with the mapping and the interaction, I wish that you could have seen what I'm talking about, but it was impressive. I think it was what I see the future end user wanting to do instead of flipping through a book or, scrolling through a PDF.
Right. Any other questions, comments?
Okay, yeah, I guess I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I see technology in a great program that we'll be paying for every year to maintain and update. the database will be obsolete in a little while. It won't be useful anymore.
I don't know if it's so much that as it's just the use of it now during the establishment that we're
Okay.
looking at that. It isn't so much that we're going to, it's still going to be in paper for us or in a book like it is now after the fact, but it's the investment in getting more people involved by using technology. That's where the little extra
I
money
get
is.
that, but that's all the money is in social media? $40,000 for social media?
No, that was more of the involvement by the firm itself.
Right.
Not that they're saying on this date, you're going to host an online, a go-to meeting and invite people. It's them doing it. And then guiding us from there, which I didn't see that so much in the other.
One of the things is, that the part of the cost is too, is say we've got the county fair going on, they may set up a booth down where people are going by and get public input that way. That's them doing it, that's not us. The public and the public meetings will be them conducting the meetings. We may be in attendance to hear some of the input, but basically it's leaving the political side out of it. So it's the public that's going to be basically building that, and that's where some of the extra cost comes from, rather than us five deciding which direction we want the city to go. The public is telling us. It's really, it's hard to explain until if you didn't see it.
I know what I'm thinking is we've been through a few comp plans.
Right.
I don't see a lot of desire to have any input. Maybe that would be different, I don't know.
Well, and see, that's what we're hoping, changes, because there's going to be an opportunity out there for these people to want to be part of it. And like you said, and the kind of reason why we're looking at it too is the comp plan we got now is, and I've heard the terms, is basically it's old and it's basically junk. And nobody looks at it because some of it doesn't make any sense because it was set a certain way and it's time to change. So.
Well,
And both.
you two were obviously very swayed by it. Yeah, we don't get to see it, so
Right.
I have to take your word on that part of it.
The
But
one-
I certainly would like to see more public involvement.
And one of the things is that they did state that they understood that the billing could have to be spread out.
Yeah.
It isn't just a one lump sum. And it can be spread out over a 2-year period, and we'd have to understand that we're going to, next 2018 budget, bump that up to cover the expense. But
Would we be getting direction as to how to achieve what's in the comp plan along with this comp plan?
yeah, I think they
There would be
very-
implementation steps, if that's what you're
Yeah,
looking for.
That's kind of what I'm.
This is our goal, and these are our issues, and we would, all three of the plans would have implementation. All three of the firms would take us through the implementation steps.
Okay, and I guess the one thing that would be, as far as if one direction, say it is 20 years out and we've been going along with the comp plan, and all of a sudden something comes up that in today's world doesn't make the sense it did now.
In 20 years, right?
Just so we don't have to scrap the whole comp plan because of that one part, is what I would be afraid. I realize there's going to be changes. Heck, there's been changes in between years, but I mean, a plan, I think you need a comp plan. I'm an advocate of a comp plan, but it's something that the times have it's got to be able to grow with the times.
Right.
Without scrapping the whole thing,
Yeah.
so, my thoughts on a comp plan anyway.
Any other questions? Discussion?
When do they expect this to be done, in 2018?
It would take a little better than a year. And when we have to form a task force to be a part of it and go do this whole process. And one of the things all three firms that we did interview said, whoever is part of that task force is going to have to be committed to make sure that you're there at every meeting. They may be able to miss one, but if half of the people decide to start dropping out or miss half the meetings, then we're going to run into a situation where we're going to be sitting, going backwards rather than forward. So, but there's numerous groups out there, I think, that can have people that would love to have public input, you know, church groups, school, you know, civic groups, you know, they've all got an idea of what direction they want to go and if they want to be, you know, in which direction the city should be. We've got a lot of land sitting out there that is zoned, but we really don't have any direction as far as what we want to do with it and where the comp plan's going to be able to help us. So it's a big chunk of money and it's a big decision, but we're to this point now. So is there any other questions or comments, concerns? Otherwise, I would be entertaining a motion we're asking for a motion to accept SRF as our engineer for the comprehensive plan.
I will make a motion to accept SRF.
Okay, we have a motion by Dave. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
And a second by Keith. Is there any other discussions, concerns? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve appointment of comp plan consultant. We just did that. Okay.
Now we
Let's not
should
go through that again.
We better do it again.
Not going to go through that again? Okay. 7D, approve appointment of insurance billing company.
Okay, the city's insurance company, billing company, which is Star Claims for the ambulance department, will be retiring. She's notified us as of the first of the year, and so she'll no longer serve the city. And so the ambulance department went out and they selected 5 vendors that were solicited and reviewed to assume that those services, and they've selected and are recommending Expert T Billing, the preferred candidate for a variety of reasons. And Tim DeShane is here tonight to talk to you a little bit about Expert T Billing. We do have a little bit more of cost per file, but that does include electronic billing. So we're kind of taking our ambulance service and the electronic billing and all the paperwork to the next level. And so I'm going to invite Tim up here to answer any questions. There's a couple of things, you know, we have to have a HIPAA associate business agreement, which is normal that you would have with a firm like that, but we also would need approval of the city council to enter into an agreement with Expert T Billing.
Okay. Hey, Tim.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, we received notice October 1st that Star Claims would no longer be doing our ambulance billing. You know, not knowing anything about ambulance billing companies, I was not in the negotiations when we initially hired Star Claims. You know, she made a recommendation basically to go online and search, so that's what I did. I didn't find a lot, but I did go to the Minnesota Ambulance Association's website, and that's where I received the 5 companies that did ambulance billings. Figured that if they're advertising on the Minnesota Ambulance website, that, you know, they're at least recommended by the state. I also did do one more that was not really a recommendation from Star Claims, but said that she worked with a guy that does ambulance billing also, so I did make contact with him. But he's out of New Mexico, and so I figured I would like to at least stay in the state. We did meet with the owner of Expert T Billing. He actually came to Sauk Center the day after we contacted him, which I thought was a very good sign. He answered all our questions. He actually emailed me the next day a contract, a draft contract. He said that he could take over January 1 if the council approves it. And then we are kind of in a time crunch because we do have to notify Medicare of the change, and there's a form we have to file, and it's a 60-day wait. So we're coming up, or we're actually past that right now. So if we delay too long, we might have our Medicare, Medicaid payments being delayed. So the paperwork right now is sitting on my desk. It's all completed. All we have to do is file it if the council gives the approval to accept this company. Any questions by the council and mayor?
Who's taking care of the billing now if they retired October 1?
She's retiring. She noticed. She gave us notice October 1, but
Okay.
it's not into effect until January 1st.
Okay.
And then with that, all of the existing files that she has that we've already paid for, she's going to continue to service them until she's done with them. So she's not going to be done with the billing January 1. It's probably going to be mid to late 2017 before she's done with the files that we already paid for.
So basically, she just won't be taking on any new files?
Correct.
Or new billing after the 1st?
Yes.
Okay. In interview committee for these groups, was it just you or?
Kathy and I interviewed.
Okay.
I talked to a company out of Fergus Falls. We're thinking about going to EPCR, which is electronic patient care reports, to be more up to date. The company out of Fergus Falls only accepts EPCR that is a Zoll based, and Zoll is a defibrillator company, and so we don't have Zoll defibrillators, so none of our defibrillator information would be contained into that patient care report. The companies that we are looking at, and we're narrowing it down to 2 EPCR companies, will both be able to download our LifePak defibrillators to the patient care report.
Okay. Any other questions?
You don't have electronic billing now?
No.
Okay. Typically, that results in quicker payment, I think so.
Yep, and that, with Expertise Billing, they're accepting paper care reports right now. They're kind of pushing that we go to an EPCR, but they don't, like I said, there's 2 of them we're looking at, but they don't care which one we go to. They're recommending one over the other. So we do have time to really look at those 2 systems to see which one will meet our needs. One thing also with this contract, it is a 5-year contract, but it's a 60-day out. So if we don't like what they're doing, 60 days we can give them notice and delete our contract with them.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
With that, do we have a motion to approve use of Expertise Billing Services and execution of HIPAA Business Associate Agreement?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Any other questions, comments? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approve employee health care plan for 2017.
Okay, this is the city staff and the finance committee have been meeting, and we have looked at various health insurance policies for our renewal. When our renewal came in this last year, we did have an increase, and we thought we would look at some other options for the city for providing health care. We did look at approximately a dozen policies, and we did narrow it down to a policy with Health Partners. And how it would work was the deductible would be increased, and that would save the city savings in costs of premium. And then the employee would be sheltered from that increase in deductible by a contribution to an HSA or a VEBA by the city. So it increases the deductible by $550 for single and $1,100 for family, but we do have enough savings in the premium so that we're able to offset that with a payment into their HSA or VIBA. And if they don't use the deductible, or if they don't go to the doctor and need those dollars, then that HSA or VIBA stays with them. That is money that stays in that account, and they can build it over time. And then on the HSA side, the employee would also be able to put their own contributions into that if they so chose, and that's an option that they don't have today. There's a couple things that are new to the plan, and a couple things that we're going to be, there's kind of some change-offs. Some of the new things are, because it will become a small group plan, pediatric dental and eyewear is included as part of your health care. So we have 27 children on our plan, and those children then, any of those 19 and under, would be able to go to the dentist as if they were going to the doctor. And so once they met their deductible, their pediatric dental care would be covered. Same with a pair of eyeglasses or contacts every year, and that is a benefit we don't have currently. Another benefit that we don't have currently is there's a long list of preventive drugs that many people take if you have high blood pressure or diabetes or any of those. And those preventive drugs on our current plan you have to pay for until you meet your deductible. There's no copay, nothing. You pay 100% until you meet your deductible. On the new plan, any of those preventive drugs, you just pay with a copay. The copay goes toward your deductible, but you don't have to pay the full cost of the drug. So those were some of the three things that we got as a result of the change that we didn't previously have. A couple of things that we lost was embedded deductible and fourth quarter carryover. Those two things are really no longer offered in plans, but we were grandfathered in because we had a plan for many, many years, and we continued to have it. So that's something that we did give up in exchange, and the employees have, the unions have voted to agree to that. So it kind of gives you a little bit of the plan change that we're looking at. As a result of this, we were able to take the city's health insurance, rather than a 12.5% increase, to a 12.2% decrease. So that's about a 25% swing we would be able to do as a result of this. The net cost to the city, or the net savings to the city, is $71,000. So that's about what we would save the city. The employee also would share in some costs as well, because the deduction from their paycheck would be less because it's based on the premium. So it kind of just gives you a little bit of the highlights in the plan, and probably more detail than you really wanted to know. But we do have agreement by both the police and the public unions to move forward with that. So we kind of have two actions here tonight. One is to approve the Health Partners Plan and the contributions to HSA and VIBA, or VIBA, the employee's choice. And the second part would be the next action item with the unions. So I guess I'm looking right now for approval to do the Health Partners Plan, and that actually goes into effect on December 1st of 2016, so we can lock in 16 rates all the way to December 1st of 17.
Questions? Comments?
Good work.
It was an education.
A lot of work done by staff to get to this point.
Yep.
So,
Health Partners is covered locally?
Yes.
Okay.
That is one thing that we did, is we researched out, and we actually went to the employees and said, go ahead and contact your doctors, your chiropractors, everybody, to make sure to see, and nobody came back and said that they weren't able to obtain the coverage, or obtain that the doctor took Health
Because
Partners.
out of coverage, that savings goes away in a hurry.
right.
The public utility has had Health Partners for many years.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, I'll be looking for a motion to approve Health Partners Plan and contributions to HSA or VIBA as presented.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Keith. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Any other comments, questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Now in front of you is the approved MOU with the Public Works and Police Department unions.
As part of the health change, we do have to have negotiations with our two unions, for the Public Works and the police unions, and I do have those laid out in the MOUs in front of you tonight. And really, the only thing that we needed to change in the union contracts was we currently were paying $1,200, which was the single deductible, into the plan, and leaving them with a $1,200 risk. And now with the new $3,500 deductible, we're going to leave them with a $1,200 risk as well by increasing the contribution to $2,300. So really, we're just absorbing the risk by an additional contribution. And so what these two memorandums of understanding do is amend the two union contracts, changing that VEBA contribution from the $1,200 to the $2,300 for family, and then it's $1,750 for the single plan. And then this goes into effect now, but then in 2017, we will be negotiating our new 3-year contracts with Police and Public Works, and at that point, we'll look at this again and see if it still fits.
Questions? Comments? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the MOUs with Public Works and Police unions clarifying the VEBA or HSA contribution?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave, do we have a second?
Well, second.
Second by Heidi. Any other comments, questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7G, set date for canvassing votes from general election.
As you know, whenever we have an election that has a candidate from the city on it, we have to meet and canvass those votes and certify them to the county and then to the Secretary of State that they're true and accurate. Excuse me. And the dates that have to fall between November and 11th and the 18th this year, because we already meet on the 16th. Maybe it was my recommendation just to go ahead and make an agenda item on the 16th. We can pass the resolution that time and forward it along. The first day you can have it is the 11th, but that falls on Veterans Day and we can't conduct public business, so it's automatically pushed to next week. And so 2 more days, I thought, from Monday to Wednesday wasn't too big of a stretch that we could do it that day.
Sounds good.
Okay. You need a motion?
Yeah, I'd like a motion to set November 16th as the canvass date.
Do I have a motion to set November 16th, 2016 as the date to canvass the votes for the general election results?
So moved.
We have a motion by Heidi. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Any other questions, comments? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Appeal of the Oak Street assessment.
So as you know, we did receive a formal appeal of the Oak Street assessment that was read into the record at the hearing 2 weeks ago. The finance, and then there was additional information that you did receive in your packet that was submitted by Ms. Ryan and her explanation of why she felt that that assessment was unreasonable. The Finance Committee met this evening, and after talking with Ms. Ryan, and she's here tonight if you have any additional questions for you, they have a recommendation that they feel is justified and would be substantiated if she were to take us to court to try to reduce the assessment. That would be the next step. If you don't make a change tonight or make a change that's acceptable to her, then her next step would be to file in district court, and then we would let a judge decide. So the items tonight that the committee felt that were very attributable specifically to her property were her water service, her sewer service, the sidewalk, which she would otherwise be responsible for, and the storm drainage from her lot. So that took her assessment down from $15,497.31 to $66,47.47, leaving the city with the balance of $88,50.84. So the recommendation of the committee was to reduce the assessment to $66,47.47.
Questions? Comments?
What remained on the assessment roll is the services, water and sewer?
What, no, excuse me. We would assess for water, sewer, sidewalk, and storm.
Sidewalk and storm, all right.
So that's those dollar amounts that we added up, and that's where we came up with that dollar amount.
It's the 4 parts of the assessments that we felt were direct to the property.
What's the city balance after this adjustment?
$88.50.
88,850.
$8,850.
Questions, comments? Otherwise, are you entertaining a motion to accept the Finance Committee's findings? Unless someone else has,
So the Finance Committee is recommending
We're
a
making a
settlement. I
recommendation.
assume that means a settlement offer.
right,
Okay.
of $6,647 would be the total for her assessment.
6,000
You
or
haven't-
5,000?
You haven't made a motion yet.
No, no.
I guess I would just have one more question. How much is this going to cost us if it goes to the next step and this is rejected?
If this was rejected and we went to the district court, you would have your attorney fees, of course, and then whatever the judge decides. The judge could say zero, the judge could say, let the assessment stand. It really goes into their hands at that point.
Is it a one-time shot and it's done?
Generally, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
To clarify, what was the dollar amount? Is it
664747.
Okay. Anyone on the council want to entertain a motion? If they
I'll make
want to
a
accept
motion.
that.
I'll make a motion that settlement be offered.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Dave, and we have a second by Diane. Are there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4 in favor, 1 against. 7I, approve accountant payroll specialist step.
Okay, this is the step increase request for Jacqueline Kirchhoff. She's been employed by the city for 2 years on November 10th, and she continues to bring new methods to the finance side of the city. She has implemented electronic payment efficiencies, electronic timekeeping, payroll, and reporting, and she does take advantage of available training in her field to try to keep abreast of all the rules with all the para changes and the Affordable Care Act and all those kinds of things and the IRS regulations. And she's also successfully implemented new accounting software and developed individualized comprehensive reports. She is very efficient, neat, and she's very neat. She sets an example for the rest of us for our offices, and she remains professional regardless of what is thrown her way. It is for these reasons that I recommend Jacqueline be advanced to Step 6 of the pay system, effective November 10th, 2016.
Questions? Comments? I think every time we've ever had a question about the budget or
Yeah.
anything like that, or payroll, she's right there to give us an explanation,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Do I have a motion to approve the step advancement for Jacqueline Kirchhoff to Step 6, effective November 10th, 2016?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Keith. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Diane. Any other comments? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Appointment of ice skating attendant.
We were able to get one more person that was willing to be the ice skating attendant or to assist with ice skating, with the figure skating. This is the figure skating part of it. And that is Callie Herdering, and she has been one of our students for many years, and now she's going to advance to being one of the instructors. So we are recommending that we approve Callie Herdering as a figure skating instructor at the rate of $15 per hour, and then, of course, mileage when she is the driver. And so that is our request, approve the winter seasonal employment as presented.
Questions? Comments? Otherwise, do I have a motion to approve the winter seasonal employment as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion by Heidi,
In a second.
second by Dave. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. We have no unfinished business. New business, joint meeting with the PUC, set a date.
Right, we had discussed earlier about having a joint meeting with the PUC. Dennis Ricken is going to be retiring from the PUC, and it would be very good for us to meet with them and garner as much of his knowledge as we can before he leaves, but also to talk about other various things that we have going on that are kind of a joint project that involve both boards. We looked at the calendar, and November happens to have 5 Wednesdays, and the 5th Wednesday is November 30th. So that would be our first recommendation, and I'd like to present that to the PUC, but I think even outside of that, you might want to have an alternate date in case it doesn't work for them. So I would suggest November 30th, and then pick another date. It actually could be before a council meeting if that works, but sometimes those meetings run on a little bit.
Yeah.
How about December 32nd?
30th is fine, I would think.
If
Yeah.
we need an alternative.
If that doesn't work with them, we can always meet at 16th and pick an alternate date, or they can give us an alternate date.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Would work.
Sounds good.
Okay. Consent agenda. We have a schedule of claims of unpaid claims of $64,051.55. Paid claims of $1,189.20 for a total of $65,240.75. That is all that we have on the consent calendar for tonight. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Keith.
I'll second.
We have a second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. We also have no informational items tonight. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
We
adjourn.
have a motion by Dave. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.